Dan Markel pulls into his garage on Benton Hills Drive, engine still running, July 18, 2014. A gunman steps out of the shadows and fires twice into his head. The 41-year-old Florida State University law professor slumps behind the wheel, mortally wounded, alone in his own driveway. Neighbors hear the shots but see nothing. Markel is rushed to the hospital and dies the next morning. There is no forced entry, no robbery, no obvious motive, just a Harvard-educated law professor gunned down in broad daylight in a quiet Tallahassee neighborhood. Investigators immediately suspect the killing is personal. Markel had been locked in a bitter custody battle with his ex-wife, Wendi Adelson, over their 2 young sons. Wendi wanted to relocate the boys to South Florida to be near her wealthy family. A judge had legally blocked that move, forcing Wendi to remain in Tallahassee, far from her parents, Donna and Harvey Adelson, and her brother Charlie. For nearly 2 years, the case has gone cold. Then in 2016, police arrested 2 men, Sigfredo Garcia, a former gang member, and Luis Rivera, a getaway driver connected to the Latin Kings. Rivera eventually confesses. He says Garcia recruited him for the job, and Garcia was brought in by his on and off girlfriend, Catherine Magbanua. Investigators trace payments back to Magbanua, who began drawing a salary from the Adelson family's dental practice just 2 months after the murder, despite no record of her ever working there. The hitmen were paid $100,000, delivered in $100 bills stapled together in $1,000 stacks. Detectives later learned that's exactly how Charlie Adelson, Wendi's brother, habitually bundled his own cash. Rivera pleads guilty and receives 19 years for his cooperation. Garcia is convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life. Magbanua is convicted in 2022. The investigation now turns toward the family itself. In 2019, the FBI runs an undercover sting known as the Bump, designed to rattle the Adelsons into incriminating themselves. Wiretapped calls capture the family in a state of panic, discussing money and the mounting pressure of the case. Charlie Adelson is finally arrested in 2022. At his 2023 trial, prosecutors paint him as the operational link between his mother and the hired killers. He testifies in his own defense, but the jury doesn't believe him. He is convicted of first-degree murder, conspiracy, and solicitation, and sentenced to life in prison plus 2 consecutive 30-year terms. Days after that verdict, his parents, Donna and Harvey Adelson, are arrested at Miami International Airport. They are holding one-way tickets to Vietnam, a country with no extradition treaty with the United States. For prosecutors, it looks like confirmation of guilt. 2 years later, Donna Adelson finally stands trial. The state argues she wasn't just aware of the plot, she orchestrated it, driven by a desperate need to keep her grandchildren close and end her daughter's custody battle once and for all. 2 jailhouse informants take the stand against her. One claims Donna offered $10,000 and a grand piano in exchange for false testimony. Another testifies that Donna confessed outright, saying she had the murder arranged to keep her grandsons near the family. Prosecutors also present the same wiretaps and phone records used against Charlie, this time framing Donna as the matriarch pulling the strings from behind the scenes. Donna chooses not to testify. On September 4th, 2025, after just 3 hours of deliberation, a Leon County jury found her guilty of first-degree murder, conspiracy, and solicitation to commit murder. She sobs and gasps at the defense table as the verdict is read. On October 13, 2025, Judge Stephen Everett sentences the 75-year-old to life in prison without parole, plus an additional 30 years on the remaining charges to run consecutively. In her statement to the court, Donna denies any wrongdoing, insisting the case against her was built without real evidence. The judge calls her lack of remorse striking. She becomes the 5th person convicted in connection with Dan Markel's murder. In December 2025, she was transferred to Homestead Correctional Institution in Miami-Dade County, closer to her husband Harvey. Her son Charlie remains in prison out of state, still appealing his own conviction. On July 1st, 2026, Florida's First District Court of Appeal rejected his appeal and upheld his conviction on every count. Donna's own appeal is still pending with no hearing date set. Wendi Adelson, the daughter at the center of the custody dispute, has never been charged. She testified under limited immunity at every trial and has consistently denied any knowledge of the plot. More than a decade after Dan Markel was shot in his own garage, the case has claimed nearly an entire family. Convicted killers, a go-between, a son, and now a mother. each one sentenced to spend the rest of their lives behind bars for a murder rooted in a custody fight that never had to end this way.